A very good day to everyone, and thank you, organizers, for inviting me to share my views with everyone here today. While working in the Ministry of Women and Child Development, I used to often say to my colleagues that in an ideal world, we should not need a ministry for women or for children. That, in essence, applies to all the other ministries and departments in the Government of India that have been set up to protect and promote the rights and interests of people who are seen to be deprived of the same. These may be identities based on caste, tribe, minority religious status, and others. Setting up of these ministries and departments flows from our constitutional obligations, where a promise has been made that every citizen shall enjoy a good life and a secure life. But discrimination, as we know it, has been and still is a fact of life. And therefore, these agencies of the government are tasked with trying to level the playing field through affirmative action for all those who are deprived and need to be given that lift. A recent example would be the bringing in of a reservation quota for the economically weaker section in government service, and is an example of this approach to inclusivity and accommodation of diversity. So what would D&I success look like? Seen in this background, it would be a time where you do not need any separate institution to either act as a promoter or a vigilante for any diverse group of people based on gender, caste, class, race or ethnicity, region, religion, language, or any of the other multiple criteria that are used as identity markers for diversity. So is this likely to happen anytime soon? Probably not. The government and its institutions will need to lead, not just by example, as equal opportunity employers, but they also have a critical role in mainstreaming policies and practices that create the right environment for inclusion and acceptance of diversity. A simple example would be the building regulations, which are now in force and which make it mandatory for all public buildings to provide for ramps, designated parking space, and toilets for the differently abled. We commonly see the provision of wheelchairs in most public spaces today, and hopefully braille signages will also catch on soon. And as I said, this is one example of how mainstreaming good practices into your regulations can actually make a big difference to the lives of people who need that extra comfort, that extra facilitation. To make it easier for women to balance their childcare responsibilities with their work, childcare was introduced for government employees. So far, this has only been extended to women workers. And to be truly inclusive, this would probably need to be extended to the men as well. And by recognizing their role in childcare, it would also distribute that responsibility more equitably. We have all seen how work from home during COVID times has shown the way, and a lot of men have shared equally in the responsibilities at home. Recognizing this reality would enable employers and businesses to restructure their HR policies to be more inclusive and balanced in terms of gender roles. So coming back to the question, what would D&I success look like? When diversity is accepted as a given, and when each individual is valued for being exactly who they are, and the only basis for their being in a particular space is their ability to what needs to be done in that role and the value that they bring to it, and nothing else. Having worked in several ministries in the central government, I know for a fact that they are open and accepting of diversity, especially for region, language, and gender. But there are some subtle, some not so subtle, like your alma mater and the service that you belong to, that bring in these barriers even in the government workspace. So acceptance of every person for their unique value is something that everyone needs to open up to. Today there's a panel discussion later in the day on women in STEM. Probably during the discussions in the summit, a reference may be made to the LGBTQ being included in the draft Science, Technology and Innovation Policy. Now these are conversations that need to happen and are a reflection of our times. Mission Karma Yogi has brought out the need to match competencies with assigned roles. And that perhaps is the key to the future. Equal opportunities for building capacities and then assigning roles based on competencies alone would make for diverse and inclusive workspaces. Maybe that's not too far in the future. And until then, the conversations must go on. Thank you.